Hi students, so far you have learned that in an ecosystem, energy will enter, flow within, and eventually leave the ecosystem. However, like in mesocosm, nutrient will be recycled within the ecosystem. And today you are going to learn about the carbon cycle in an ecosystem. So again, I want to repeat that we as a very huge mesocosm, the world, actually the sunlight energy enters, flows within, and then leaves the ecosystem. However, like the mesocosm, there is no inorganic nutrient that is supplied into the mesocosm system. The same thing also happens to our Earth. There is no inorganic supply that is added from the outer space. So, in another word, we say that the nutrients in our world is limited. Therefore, it must be recycled. Inorganic nutrients are non-living elements that are essential for the growth of living things. Once again, inorganic nutrients are non-living elements that are essential for the growth of living things. Now, inorganic nutrients include carbon, nitrogen, and phosphorus. However, in this topic, we will only discuss about the recycling of carbon. Now, why I put the picture of Lego? So it's kind of like the Lego blocks, the nutrient, it can be built into certain model and it can be broken down into Lego blocks again, and it can be rebuilt to another model, and so on and so forth. So that's what happened to the nutrients in the ecosystem. So maybe you ask why we have to learn carbon, why IB syllabus prioritize carbon. The reason is because carbon is one of the main elements in making organic molecules such as carbohydrate, lipid, and protein. So this is the picture, molecular picture of fatty acid or part of the lipid. As you can see here, there's so many carbon, right? Long chain of carbon. The same thing also happens here. Well, you don't worry about this. You will learn about organic chemistry in topic 2 soon after we are done with topic 4, which is ecology. And then the next one is glucose. This is one of example of carbohydrate. As you can see, there are so many carbon here. And this is molecule for protein. You can see also there are so many carbon. And in our body, about 18% of our body contain or consists of carbon. So other major elements other than carbon are hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen, as you can see from this picture. Alright, so remember carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen as the main elements in living organism, but for this chapter we'll just learn about the recycling of carbon. So back to the analogy, if carbon atoms like Lego bricks, you can see from this picture. So photosynthesis is like building up this Lego model. Okay, through the process of photosynthesis, the carbon dioxide will be combined to be a large molecule of organic molecules such as carbohydrate, lipid, and so on. And then if this wheat become bread that is digested, it will be broken down into glucose and will be rebuilt into the muscle of this baby, right, that is eating bread. However, some part of the bread cannot be digested, so it becomes feces. And by the decomposer, this feces will be again broken down through the cell respiration to be the inorganic carbon again that is ready to be used for photosynthesis process to become organic molecules again. So again, as I said, it will be combined through the process of photosynthesis, rebuilt into another form, or for example, to become our muscle or fat, and then broken apart through the process of decomposition and cell respiration. Now we are going to talk about the sources of carbon in the air for the autotrophs, especially in the land, to do photosynthesis. Right. So in the air, carbon can be found in form of gases such as carbon dioxide and methane. Now I think you are familiar with carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is the gas that is produced by aerobic or using oxygen cell respiration, like what we do. We always do cell respiration every second, right? And the other ones as a source of carbon dioxide is combustion. What is combustion? Combustion is a reaction between organic materials such as wood and so on. or we call it biomass, with the oxygen, or in daily life we call it is a burned reaction. Okay, a paper can get burned and then the carbon dioxide will be released. Now, combustion can happen naturally when fire happens in the forest. For example, like maybe you have heard like news like last year or 2 years ago in Australia, they have a very dry drought season, and yeah, the forest can get fire, and then this will release the carbon dioxide, that the carbon that is already fixed in the wood, to be back into carbon dioxide through the process of combustion into the air. Right, so as you can see also here, animals and human also do cell respiration, and it will give the source of carbon dioxide in the air as the source of carbon. And also, as I said before, other than carbon dioxide, there is also another gas that contain carbon that is located in the air as the source of carbon, which is methane. Now, methane, or CH4, is waste product of anaerobic cell respiration. So this is the keyword, anaerobic. Carbon dioxide is produced by aerobic cell respiration, which require oxygen, while here there is no oxygen required. So that's why this kind of cell respiration cannot be done by regular bacteria or fungi, but it must be done by a special types of prokaryotes called methanogenic archaeans. And these prokaryotes usually live in waterlogged area where no oxygen or can be easily provided, okay, where aerobic saprotrophic bacteria and fungi cannot live. Thus, the detritus will be decomposed by these prokaryotes. Right? Now, as you can see from this picture, right, this soil, there is no oxygen, so the root, that roots will become the detritus that will be used as the source for anaerobic respiration by methanogenic archaeans, and they become methane. Some of the methane remains in the soil, while some will diffuse out to the atmosphere. Now, what will happen in the atmosphere? They will meet with the oxygen. Now, the methane will be oxidized by the oxygen, and they will become carbon dioxide and also the a side product, which is water. So methane eventually oxidizes into CO2 in the atmosphere. That's why the concentration of methane remains low in the atmosphere, because when the methane goes to the atmosphere, it will react with or oxidize by the oxygen to become carbon dioxide. How about the sources of carbon in water for the aquatic autotrophic plants to do the photosynthesis? Now, carbon dioxide, like any other gas, can diffuse into water and dissolve in it. However, some of the dissolved carbon dioxide will combine with water and produce hydrogen carbonate ions. Now, aquatic autotrophic can use both dissolved carbon dioxide or the other product of carbon dioxide that is dissolved that has been reacted with water, which is the hydrogen carbonate ions. Now, a little bit of chemistry if you want to know. The carbon dioxide combined with water, it will become H2CO3 or carbonic acid, and they will start to separate it, become the hydrogen carbonate ions and also the hydrogen ions. Okay, I have talked about the sources of carbon. Now it is the time for us to combine the energy flow diagram and also the carbon recycling concept into one diagram. So this is what we call the simple carbon cycle that this picture I take from Andrew Ellis study guides. So as you can see, this is CO2 in the air and the water that we just have talked about, and then through the process of photosynthesis, the carbon will enter into the body of the producers, in the grain of the rice, in the apple flesh, and so on. And this body of producer later on will be eaten by consumers. Now when we talk about consumers here, there are primary consumers, secondary consumer, and so on. So from primary consumer will be eaten by the secondary, from secondary will be eaten by the tertiary, and so on. And then if they die, it means that it is going to be the food for the saprotrophic bacteria or fungi, right? And then again, the carbon will be released back to the air by the cell respiration. And again, as you have learned, the consumer also release the carbon through the process of cell respiration to maintain the body heat, and the producer also do cell respiration. So as you can see from here, there's only one arrow go to that take the carbon from the source, which is the photosynthesis. The rest actually tend to release the carbon back into the environment. And there is also a dashed line here, which is combustion and forest fire. Why there's a dashed line? Because it is not something that happens every day. All right. Now, one thing that I want to emphasize, as you can see, there are so many boxes here, and these boxes are called the carbon sink. What is the carbon sink? Carbon sinks are methods for carbon storage. So it is where the carbon is stored. Now, actually, methane sinks can also be added here, but Andrew Elliott didn't put it there, right? But you actually can add the boxes for methane. And how about the arrow? Arrows are actually shows the carbon fluxes. What is carbon fluxes? Carbon fluxes is measurement of carbon exchange or transfer. So for example, from the air transfer into the body of the into the body of the producer by means of photosynthesis, while the carbon from the body of the producer go into the body of the consumers by means of feeding. And this is what we call the flux, carbon flux. I hope you understand this explanation, and see you in the class.